Hello, MAEA. Hey, this is Cheryl Church here, and I've been a teacher for the last 19 years at Carthage High School, a total of 22 years all in all. I have done a variety of different lessons and assignments, and I'm always looking for something different. Colonial Floor cloth is something that I was introduced to in college by a craft teacher, and I absolutely loved it, and then kind of forgot about it, and then it was probably a couple years ago, I found my example, or the one that I had done in college, and I was like, oh my gosh, that was so much fun. I should do that for my kids. But I couldn't remember the name of it. So I had to do some research, and I finally found the name of it, Colonial Floor cloth. But it basically kind of happened around France around the 15th century. And it was just a way to decorate a home. So instead of the hardwood floors, they would have a little bit of a painting decoration type thing on the floor, but they wanted it to withstand all the boots and tracking and stuff. So they had a very heavy canvas that they made it out of. So kind of at the same concept, we're going to use a heavy canvas. I also had, like, Leggett and Platt's donated a lot of fabric to me from their mattresses. Worked great, but the canvas also works good. And this was pre-gessoed canvas that I had purchased, a roll of it. We used this, and all I did was I just basically took the edge and folded it over, such as this, and sewed it with a sewing machine. But when sometimes you get down into time frames and you're running out of time towards the end of the year, or you don't want to spend a large amount of time. I know with my summer school class, we did the giant Colonial Floor cloths. Ooh, upside down. Sorry. Here we go. Woo. The giant ones, and actually made a rug, but I don't have giant pieces like that anymore. So I still have a bunch of the fabric, but I wanted to use it up, and that's when I decided to go with the Colonial Floor cloth, but make it into placemats. Now, here's my example, because I really wanted to do a chicken. And then after I got the chicken done, I realized, placemat. So my students said, oh, it's a wall hanging. Bless their hearts. But again, basically, I just sewed the back, and then I covered it with just the shelf grippy stuff that you can get at Dollar Tree for $1. So got my chicken done and decided I probably should do this correctly, and so they could really see what it looks like done the correct way. So I did a little Native American design. So you could easily theme these if you wanted to. You could stick with the colonial folklore, their little folk art kind of designs and stuff, like the goose and the checkerboards and the patterns, the repetition patterns. You could stick with that, or you could go with some culture. I did Native American, and because I want to make 4 of these, I went ahead, after I got one done, I did a tracing of it, just using the basic tracing paper I got at Hobby Lobby, and now I can make multiple. When I cut those pieces out, I realized I had a whole bunch of scraps. So that's when I decided to do the coasters. Now, this is just acrylic paint, and then I used paint marker to try to get the fine edge lines, but you can also use a tinier paintbrush. This is an 8-year-old student that done it, and she used Sharpie markers and alcohol. Super cute. Doesn't get as bold as the paint, but it's still super cute. Here's another one that I had done. I kind of went with the same color, but changed the content. And that could easily be done. And with that thought, I'm going to set that aside because I want to say something else about that. But this was a 10-year-old student. She used acrylic paint. Got the back on it, so she made her own little coaster. So they can be very, very creative, coming up with all different kinds of designs. It's not very expensive. It's kind of cheap. I mean, the one thing is you're going to have to sew. So if you don't know how to use a sewing machine, that might be a little difficult. I guess you could probably glue them down if you don't know how to use a sewing machine. And then I use spray adhesive to put this down on the back of it. But I would probably recommend maybe putting some fabric glue down and then the spray adhesive. That ways the spray adhesive will kind of hold this in place while the fabric glue is drying, and you can have a little bit more stability. I put the poly acrylic protective finish on it after I was done. That way, if something spills on it, you can wipe it off. It's not going to soak into it. I put 2 coats on mine, and I like it because it's soap and water cleanup. Now I tried the floor one, the polyacrylic flooring, which was great for the floor mats, but it took a long time to dry, and I had to have mineral spirits to clean up the stink, and it wasn't worth it. But the polyacrylic water cleanup was so much better. Now, pattern wise, this was one of my students. I absolutely love this. This girl found herself this year, well, this pandemic year. In August, she'd always struggled with art, loved the whole concept of it, but just could never find herself. And this year I gave her some oil pastels, and we did blind contour line drawing, so it kind of had a little Picasso effect. And she took the pastels and just absolutely loved it, enjoyed it, and she has already done almost 60 different drawings now. She is the girl of many faces. So this is the one that she did, and she's doing 4 of them because she wants a complete set. So the whole placemat itself is going to have the same color scheme, but each face is going to be different, and so it'll have the same border too. That way it has that unity feel to it. But she's also using this for her AP, so I mean, she could double dip on that. But that's out of the canvas, and basically where it starts, as soon as I find my paper, there it is. For the placemats, 16 to 18 inches. It just kind of depends on how many you're doing. I did mine 16 inches, and I think they're a decent size. I don't know if I'd really want to do much bigger. The coasters are 5 inch by 5 inch with about a 1/4 of an inch fold so that you can either glue it down or sew it down. The supplies, I mean, you could use stamps, stencils, tracing paper, paint. You just want to make sure you have a heavy canvas, either pre-gessoed or, I use the fabric, but anyway, brushes, sealer. That's about all you're going to need for this. And that sounds like a lot, but most of us in our art room, we have stamps, we have tracing paper, we have stencils, and we have paint. So, I mean, really the big thing is the painted canvas. The gesso canvas is what you're going to need, and the sealers, probably the 2 main things. And this will go a long ways. I've had this forever. So I do have a lesson plan that's with this, and in the lesson plan it kind of gives you the brief history. I also have in here a list of supplies that you would need. The objectives, I did all that goodness too. I hardly ever do that, just saying, but I did it here. And then I also have the key instructions for success, the repetitive patterns. I'll have my students come up with their patterns, and they'll come up new design patterns, or they'll come up with their own I just repeated myself. They'll come up with their own pattern, or they will find one online, mix and match, putting things together to create a pattern. For example, this one, I used 3 different things I had found on 3 different websites. But I wanted to make sure that it was all legit as far as what the meaning of this. I didn't want to get too far away from that part. But I have my fabric. I cut it. I prime it. If it's not already pre-primed, then I sew the edge on it. And then the students can start putting their designs on it. After they've got their design, they could trace it. You could have them draw it out on paper to begin with and just trace from that. But the key thing, it was repetitive, a lot of repetitive patterns. I'm so smart, I did the llama that way too. Still gonna be cute. But, so, that is my lesson plan. I think I told you about everything. Told you about this. I think my floor is full of stuff now because I just threw it all on the floor. But I think we got it, and I hope you enjoy making one, and I really hope that you have your students do this and you'll share with me. I would love to see what you do. You could send it to the MAEA hashtag on the lesson plan. But yeah, share. I'd love to see what you do with your students. Have a great conference, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.